I'm Lori Tansey Martens, and I'm president of the International Business Ethics Institute. And last year, I celebrated my 30th anniversary in the field of business ethics and compliance. I answered an ad in the Washington Post. And so since this is for posterity, I will say that in the old days, before the internet, we actually had job wanted columns in newspapers. And I was with Procter & Gamble. I was looking to make a change. I wanted to do something what I felt was more meaningful with my life, but I enjoyed the business community a great deal. So when I literally saw an ad in the Washington Post for a consultant in the field of business ethics, I thought, that's it for me. And I applied for the position, which was with what was then the Ethics Resource Center, is now Ethics and Compliance Initiative. Got the job, and the rest, as they say, is history. So the International Business Ethics Institute is an organization that I founded back in 1994. And at the time, in the early 90s, there was, for the first time, companies were looking at globalization of ethics and compliance programs. And it's something we take for granted now. But back in 89, 90, even into 91, 92, a lot of companies would say, okay, we're interested in doing business ethics, but we're only going to do it domestically. We do not want to try to translate this on our international operations. But then we had the fall of the Berlin Wall. We had China opening up to foreign investment. And as a result of that, companies were starting to go global in a way they had not before that. So nobody really knew how to do that. And I felt there was a real need in the field to focus, to specialize in how do you take these concepts, ethics, integrity, that can sometimes be very much rooted in a specific cultural context, and translate those into very different countries with very different practices and customs. And again, since this is for history, I actually tried to get what was then the Ethics Resource Center to develop a specialty in that area. But because the Ethics Resource Center was doing a lot of work around character education at the time in primary and secondary schools, they said, nah, we just don't have the bandwidth for that right now. But because this was an area that had quickly become a passion for me, I decided that I would leave and found the Institute in 1994, and that's what I did. Despite the fact that you had radically different culture and customs in so many different areas, we found there was one universality when it came to business ethics, and that was nobody likes to speak up. And I don't care if you're in Beijing, Berlin, Buenos Aires, or Buffalo. It is this fear of speaking up is universal. And we became really intrigued by this. So back in around 2006, we started a benchmark study on how do you create non-retaliatory workplace environments? How do you create speak-up cultures? And then that has been, even probably more than the global aspect, a lot of our work for the last 10 years. All right, I might be a little provocative. Generally speaking, a complete and total waste of time. The only value really of a code of conduct is having the organization figure out what its standards are. The value is in the process, not the actual outcome. Yes, of course, it's good to have resources that, employees can consult. Most of them don't. Look at their code. It doesn't like it gets embedded. They know it's there. It kind of makes everyone feel good. But I think in terms of really moving the needle, I think it does very little. Just to repeat, I think the best part about codes is the process that the company goes through to say, okay, what are our standards going to be? How are we going to deal with social media? How are we going to deal with privacy rights of the employee versus the interests of the organization? And how do you handle some of those conflicts that can create ethical dilemmas? So I think that's been the real value. So training, I think, continues to be one of the best arrows in our quiver of ways to address ethics in companies. But I think we've gone off target because we're focusing too much on the process. Have we trained? As opposed to the outcome of, has our training actually produced what we need it to produce? Has it started us towards culture change? Is it informing people's discretionary decision making when there's not a specific policy? Is it helping to reduce rationalizations? Because as we all know in the field, the biggest business ethics issue come not because people did not know what the right thing to do was. It's because they knew what the right thing to do was and they did it anyway. And that's something that a code's not going to help you with. That's something that only training and changing attitudes and opinions is going to have an impact on. If we could develop metrics that could be published, that would be required to be published in annual reports that show employees' opinions on the ethics of senior management, employees' opinions on the ethics of their company, maybe external stakeholder groups, communities, customers, even suppliers weighing in on how they perceive whether the company is operating up to the appropriate standards and values, we would see a sea change in business ethics beyond anything that we've seen so far, because suddenly people would, at the senior levels, would really care about this stuff. So what I'd say we need is greater transparency, greater accountability. And the only way to do that is to develop metrics that look at outcome instead of too much focus on process. I think we haven't moved the ball very much. I think we've had a lot of activity, and we've got a lot of ethics and compliance officers, and we've got a lot of codes of conduct, and a lot of advice lines. I think we've barely moved the needle. Yeah, okay, right, maybe we've moved it a little bit. I don't think we've moved it enough. And I think we haven't moved it enough because we haven't been willing to look outside the box at different solutions. And so that is my hope for the field. And I hold myself accountable. We're all busy people. And sometimes, just doing the consulting work has prevented me, probably others, from actually saying, what could we be doing? Let's try something different. Instead of having a code, let's write a novella, that accomplishes the same purposes of educating people on the standards, but is not this cut and dried listing of particular standards, but something that really infuses an organization with its ethos.